Well, did you give Tupac his first ever interview?
I guess on a national basis, most people from that era, you know, that was done next to me. And the first time I interviewed Tupac, it was really interesting. It was on the set of the movie Juice. And what we did was I did a cameo as actually playing myself doing Your MTV Raps at the DJ competition. So I'm in that event. We also filmed him for Your MTV Raps, and we held that show until the movie dropped, so we can have that, like, you're on the set, behind the scenes, here's the movie. And that's when I first met Pac. And what was interesting about Tupac at that time, meeting him, his whole persona in Juice was a New York cat, which was an example of how interesting a person he was, where he could, that natural acting ability in him can make him be anybody from any part of the country that he really chose to actually be. So at that point in time, he was immersed in New York. He had that whole 90s attitude, and he played that character to the hilt. Later, when he would get down with Death Row, he would be that quintessential West Coast guy, California Love. So really amazing the way he was able to move in and out of different characters in his actual life. And then I think his Bishop character is who Tupac remained for most of his life in the public.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately.
Unfortunately is right.
Unfortunately, because, and I've talked to a lot of people around that situation, it is that persona which I think ultimately led to his early death, of being Bishop, full time. It's very sad. I mean, do you have any idea how big he was going to get early on?
I remember seeing Tupac. This was a little before he got with Death Row. And it was a party, interestingly, for Johnny Versace. Interview Magazine gave this party. It was at a restaurant downtown. So I'm at the restaurant, we chilling. Johnny Versace, his sister's across the room. Tupac comes in with Madonna and her entourage. And I was like, okay. And he came in and the cameras went right over to him and he was clowning and doing all kind of stuff for the camera. And I saw what was going on. And he came over, he saw me, came over to me, said, yo, Fab, what's poppin', baby? And we vibing, and I pulled him to the side. I said, listen, Pac, right now, for lack of a better description, you're Jimmy Dean in this game. You're a rebel without a pause, without a cause, if you will. And I said, make sure when you hanging with Madonna in them photos, it looks like she's with you, not like you're with her. He looked at me and he said, Fab, I got you, baby, I got you. And he stuck his hand in his pocket. He pulled out a big handful of buds, put them buds in my hand. We exchanged Sky Pager numbers, like, the 1-800 Sky Page, two-way page me. And that was Tupac. So I saw what was coming, the way he was able to just do his thing and play. But I was just like, make sure you understand what the dynamics here. You're in charge in these photos. Just be sure of that.
What do you think, out of all the interviews you did, what do you think is your greatest interview ever from your point of view?
Well, it's funny when you say that. That's a good question. Speaking about Tupac, there's different moments in different interviews. I couldn't put one on top of whatever, but I want to say the interview with Pac, done before that, before his Death Row period, he was in the studio with MC Breed, Coolio, a bunch of West Coast cats, and that whole show is amazing because Pac does a freestyle in one of the segments, shouting out all his boys in the studio, ending with a rhyme about me. But also during that show a little earlier, it was one of the first interviews where I remember anybody, because I was aware of his Black Panther lineage and that part of his background. And it was the first time I remember seeing him really explain that, how he was a product of that Black Panther energy. His mother, who was a part of the Panther 21, that New York case, he was pretty much conceived in the course of that trial. And it was a pretty amazing legacy that he had, that Bay Area connection, that New York connection, also Maryland. So it's just fascinating, that piece. But there's other moments and other interviews that could stand out for various reasons. I mean, people, of course, that are no longer with us. I mean, Biggie and at the Bad Boy office in the beginning of that. These guys have gone on to be such large, iconic figures in those moments early on. Once again, that's Biggie's first national TV interview, and so many others like NWA, Welcome to Compton. In fact, there's a Contact High photo exhibit, an amazing coffee table book. I gotta get you one, Vlad. You would love this book. It's a look at iconic hip hop photography, but also the contact sheets from those shoots. So you get to look at the creative process of the photographers, et cetera. That's at a show that I was just in LA for, that just opened at the Annenberg Space for Photography, and that'll be up until August. But basically, there was a lot of moments that were like that we now look back on and just, captured, and moments. Oh, so I'm sorry, I spazzed out. So in this show, there's the photographer, Ithaca is his name. I can't think of the brother's last name. But when I did that first show with NWA and we ended up at Venice Beach, Eazy-E sees these kids skateboarding, and Eazy goes and jumps on a skateboard, and he's holding his own skating around in Venice Beach. And this kid took the photos, which are now included. You just wouldn't think of, the quintessential architect of a lot of the gangster rap energy being able to get on a skateboard and do his thing at that point in time. This is like 89. So
I mean, I think I have a T-shirt with that picture. There's a picture of Easy with a skateboard that this clothing company called Popular Demand gave me that T-shirt.
Yeah,
and it's I wear it. It's Easy holding a skateboard. I think it's from that shoot that you're talking about.
It could be from that shoot. But if we go see that Contact High, you would really dig it, Vlad, because it's the Baron Claiborne photo of Biggie in the Crown, his last New York photo session. But then there's outtakes, and there's Biggie smiling, being kind of funny and silly. So you get to see another side of the artist, a look at the creative process, wonder why they use this pick and not that pick. And it's a really interesting look. And I'm in a couple of different shoots. There's another friend of mine, Lisa Leone, who was with me when I was directing Snoop's first video, What's My Name? And she has this one really well-known shot of Snoop sitting on the bed in that opening sequence. But then there's other moments that I hadn't seen that are on display. Like there's one moment of me and Dre, I'm showing him a shot on the monitor, and I'm waiting for Dre's feedback, and I'm pensively waiting. And Dre's got one of them big old Motorola StarTAC phones, and he's holding it, kind of gnawing on it. And it looks so antiquated when that was the state of the art at the time.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you did Snoop's What's My Name, which was the first single off Doggy Style.
Yeah.
And at the time, Snoop was the biggest thing. He was the Drake of hip hop of that moment.
No question.
And I remember that video, I think with had computer animation in it and stuff like that.
Well, I morphed him. Nah, the animation, that's a good thing you say that. I used the morphing technology that had only really been seen in a music video by Michael Jackson's Black or White. And so I didn't have a Michael Jackson type budget, but I knew some tech cats that connected me to some other tech cats that showed me hella love. So I was able to get the technology popping and essentially turn Snoop and the Dog Pound into dogs.
Right. No, I remember that, man. A classic interview, man.
Yeah.
And I guess, weren't you doing the interview when Busta Rhymes and the leaders of the New School were actually breaking up?
Wow. That's one of the classic Yo MTV Raps moments, which luckily it never aired as an actual show because we showed up. This was after the first leaders had blown up as a group, leaders of the New School. And in between them dropping and blowing up, Busta started to have solo appearances featured on a lot of different records, including Scenario, which was a monster record. And so when they were getting back together now for that second album, and we were at the Brooklyn Heights Promenade to basically do the show. So the group was having a little powwow, and I was waiting. We were waiting for them to have a discussion, and you could glance over and see that the faces of the members of the group started to tense up. It looked like it was a tense back and forth. And the cameraman for the show had shot a little footage just in anticipating, a little background behind the scenes B-roll footage. And I remember the moment that you see when they've done little look backs or look at Yo MTV Raps, the history of the show, that footage came up. Because that's all the footage we had. And at one moment, the cameraman is there, and Buster turns and said, "No, man, don't film this right here, man." And you see literally what was going on. We would later learn as leaders of the new school was breaking up at that moment in time, ended the group. Really sad story, because they were a dope group that could have went on, had a lot more hits. But the conflicts within the business, the structure. Clearly, cats probably thought that they were supposed to have gotten a piece of that pie with other things Buster was doing, or who knows, whatever it was. But that was like, wow. I didn't know that the cameraman had some of that footage until later. And it was pretty amazing moment to capture a group in the process of breaking up.